All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm obviously not the governor, and I'm not Babydog, okay? But you can probably tell by these two chairs which one you're in. Hint, hint. I'm Dave Hardy. I'm the Secretary of Revenue, and the governor will be in here shortly. And I just wanted to speak with you for a few minutes before the governor comes in. The governor took office in January of 17. And when he took office, the first thing we did, we sat down and we got a report on the state's finances, and it scared us half to death. It was halfway through fiscal year 17, and the state was $217 million in the red the day the governor took office. So I thought, wow, that's really bad, Governor. Then they handed us the next report. It was the projection for fiscal year 18, and we were $497 million more dollars in the red. So my old East Bank High School mathematics, I added those two numbers together, and I said, oh, West Virginia's in trouble here, Governor. We're over $700 million in the red. Now that was when the governor took office, January 17. On June 30 of 22, this year, West Virginia had the most historic day financially in the history of our state. We closed our books at midnight. Our Constitution says we close our books at midnight, and we do on June 30th, and we had a $1,308 million surplus. Now, the governor's not in the room, but I think he deserves a round of applause for that. The governor moves quick, and he said to us, first week of July, right around the 4th of July holiday, he said, let's come up with a way to start cutting taxes right now. So we did our research and we looked around, and here's what we found. There are 9 states in the United States that don't have an income tax. The other 41 obviously do. In the last 10 years, those 9 states have grown population-wise twice as fast as the other 41 states. And we're talking about states you're generally familiar with and many of us have been to. I'm talking about Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota. Most of us haven't been to South Dakota, but you get the picture. Those states are growing twice as fast as the rest of America. Their economies are growing 56% faster than the rest of the United States. Then we started looking at telework. Telework is not the future. Telework has become now. All across the United States, all across the world, telework is where the workplace is going. And we found, and as I look out at this beautiful view out here, this is what teleworkers are looking for, right here. What we have right here in West Virginia. Low crime, affordable housing, good quality of life. That's what they're looking for. They can work any place. They can work out of their homes. The other thing they're looking at, common sense would tell you this, they're looking at taxes. Which states have the lowest taxes? Up in the Eastern Panhandle, most of the people that are moving into the Eastern Panhandle, they're coming from Maryland because Maryland has such high income tax and other taxes. So you added all that up, and the governor said, I'm calling a special session legislature in July, and I'm going to cut West Virginia's income tax immediately by 10%. That's my first step toward trying to phase out the income tax. That would have put this year, 2022, $271 million right back in all of our pockets, immediately. Instant tax rebate, $271 million. The House of Delegates passed that in July in one day. But our West Virginia State Senate would not even take up the governor's bill. They did not even vote on it. They wouldn't even put it on their agenda in early July. Why? Why did they not want to do it? Because of the Amendment 2. Amendment 2 is on the ballot right now. All amendments to West Virginia's Constitution have to be voted on by the people. Our property taxes are in the West Virginia Constitution. Our Constitution was written in 1872, and it says property taxes remain local. When you pay your property taxes here in Monroe County or anywhere else in this state, your real estate tax, your personal property tax, it stays with local government. That's in our state constitution. Amendment 2 is an attempt by the West Virginia legislature to take that revenue source away from the counties, the cities, and the school boards, requiring you to go to Charleston and ask for it back forevermore. Forevermore. From this day forward, if this passes, you will always have to go to Charleston and ask the legislature in Charleston for your money back. The money you use, Mayor, to help operate this city, the money that our county commissioner uses when you dial 911 and you need an answer, those dollars, you'll have to go to Charleston and ask for them back. And you will be subject to the whims of the legislature. And let me tell you about the West Virginia legislature. They got a lot of demands on their budget. You can imagine all the demands on the state's budget. If Amendment 2 passes, you will be in line with everybody else. That includes all the state employees, PEIA, Medicaid, state pension funds, all the above. A vote for Amendment 2 is a vote to take away your guaranteed revenue source and to put you in a situation where you've lost local control of your property tax dollars. Now, the governor is about to come in here in a second, but I want to point out one other thing. West Virginia already has an excellent business tax climate. We're 20th in the country. Look at the states around us. We're better than all the states except Kentucky, and we're almost tied there with Kentucky. Don't get fooled that we have to vote for Amendment 2 because we're going to quote-unquote help business. Business is doing very well in West Virginia right now. But don't gut counties and cities and school boards and put yourself in a situation where you've lost local control. Imagine 10 years from now, the state's budget is in trouble, and you're down at the Capitol saying, we need our money for Monroe County. And the legislature saying, well, can you take a 20% cut? Because we've run out of money. We have wonderful surpluses right now, no question. Wouldn't deny that for a minute. But 10 years ago, West Virginia was so broke that we had to go to the rainy day fund and take out $162 million out of our rainy day fund just to balance the state's budget. You never know what's coming. As the governor says, and I don't want to take his phrase away, dupe happens, right? Bad things happen, and when they happen, the state has to step up and spend its money. So you should try to keep your money here in Monroe County, okay? That's the message that I hope you get from this today. The other message is, I saw where James Monroe is going for 10-0 season tonight. I heard that on the radio coming down. And I saw you in the state tournament this year. It was quite impressive. I don't know what athletic talent you're growing here, Mayor, but you're growing some because they're doing really well. And that being said, I see that the gentleman who will always tell us the truth, who took us from a $700 million deficit to a $1.3 billion surplus in 5.5 years is about to enter the room. The 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, the Honorable Jim Justice.
Okay, how are y'all doing today?
You're welcome.
Oh, thank y'all for having me. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get it. Well, this thing here got really, really hard. Okay. I got my little yeah. Come on. Now we'll take this off the table real quick, okay? After we get done, if you want to come up and see that Babydog, I know you don't give a hoot about me. You know, I'll sit right here with you and y'all come see Babydog, okay? Okay, let me tell you just this. And I can see lots and lots of great friends, Debbie, and all kinds of things that I've known forever. Some of you, you know, and I'm only talking about the men, You've not got any prettier since I've known you. But nevertheless, let me just tell you this. I've been your governor for 6 years. I've tried with all in me always to tell you the truth. We've done some exciting things, like the courthouse and all that kind of stuff here. For crying out loud, I grew up right here. I mean, really, my whole business life and everything right here. Now, and I'm dadgum proud of it. Now, so, with all that being said, in some way along the path, maybe you voted for me to be your governor. And so, you're the ones I can blame for this mess. No, I tell you, it's been a real honor and something that I'll never ever forget. But with all that, along the way, when we started, and just to be as brutally honest as I know how to be, when we started, things, when I walked in the door, were pretty doggone tough. And today, they're pretty doggone good. Now, so in all of that, then why be here? It would be so easy to just ride the parades for the next couple of years and be done, cut the ribbons, try to recruit 3 or 4 more businesses to West Virginia, and just ride the wave on out. And then along comes this situation of Amendment 2. And I'd bet my life that there's folks right in this room that don't have one earthly clue about the toxicity level of what this could really do. And so, from my standpoint, and I believe this, and I mean it with all in me, and I don't really care if you believe it or not at all. But really, when it really boils right down to it, my dad would always say, he said it 1,000 times, son, if I know, and the good Lord knows, that's all that need to know. Really, that's all that really matters. And so, I do know, and the good Lord knows what I'm telling you now is going to be exactly the truth. And that is just this, you see, I really believe He made me Jim Justice for a reason. And He made all of you who you are for a reason. And with all that being said, if we then decide, when we know something is really, really, really not right, to just sit on the sidelines and just ride to the finish line, in my world at least, He looks back at me and says, I'm not happy with you. Well, as the many blessings that He's bestowed upon me throughout all my life, our families, all the different relationships and friends, everything under the sun, I don't want that to happen. Now, I know I let Him down all the time, but I don't want that to happen. And so I'm here. And it's hard. We've done this and done this and done this for weeks now. And you may say, well, what happened? I mean, what in the world happened here? And to be perfectly honest, you couldn't have known. And to be honest with you, I never really realized it either. You see, let's go back. Let's go back to July. In July, we had just finished the year on June the 30th with $1,308 million surplus. More money than any of us could ever fathom to what it would even look like. Now, literally, like it or not like it, if we go back to when I walked in the door, we were scrambling everywhere in the world we could possibly look, not to make light of this, but if we had somebody that wanted to put a bottle watering plant or whatever in West Virginia, we could get 3 jobs. We jumped through every hoop known to man, and now you're looking at $1,308 million surplus. So I said, this is just Jimmy here. I said, my good Lord above, I mean, we've got to do something. Let's get, we got $5 gasoline, we've got inflation through the roof, we've got grocery prices killing everybody. Let's do something. And so the only thing we could do immediately was do a tax cut. And by that, then money would start flowing immediately to $254 million. So I said, okay, let's call a special session and do it tomorrow. We call a special session, the House comes in, and one day they vote do it, And then it just stops. It just stopped. Well, nobody could figure out what in the world's going on, especially me. How could it possibly stop? Republicans are in the majority, a super majority. Republicans love tax cuts. What in the world is going on? So the deeper I dug, the worse it got. Now you can say anything you want, but I am really proud to be a conservative. I'm really proud to be a Republican. I am really, really proud. I think what's going on in D.C. today is the craziest stuff in the history of the universe. I absolutely promise you to God above, the more I dug, the worse it stunk. And what it was all about is just simply just this. You've got the definition of swamp that is happening in D.C., that is happening right there in your back door in Charleston. You've got the lobbyists with the money, and they're buying the legislatures and promising the next office election or the next campaign donations or whatever it may be, or all the next perks. And literally they are being represented, they're representing rather, big, giant companies. Now, Amendment 2 has nothing to do with your car tax. That was absolutely put there, and they went around all over the place and boasted about it. They said if we put the car tax with it, you'll never catch it. You'll absolutely, we can buy your vote, and you'll never catch it. And I'm telling you the God's truth if I die. So, we had to come up with a way to take the car tax off the table. So we got that. And you absolutely should never, again, have to pay your car tax. But that didn't have anything to do with what they were doing. What they wanted to do is take all the power to Charleston. Grab all your power away. Absolutely make you so dependent upon Charleston, it's unbelievable. See, your county right now has an income stream. Dollars that flow to your county every single year, and then your county decides how to run your county, how to pay your police, your firemen, absolutely stuff with the schools, your seniors, sports leagues, anything. Well now, if Amendment 2 passes, that's gone. And you're going to have to line up, just as sure as I know my name, you're going to have to line up in February and go down and beg for funding for your county. Now, as I go, it just gets chronologically worse. Now, if you really want to go down there and beg to Charleston, and you believe that your voice is heard in Charleston, like Putnam County or whatever, and I can't help you. You don't have. I'm telling you exactly how to do that, and that will be done, period. Period. Of all the people in this room, who is going to gain the most by this passing of anybody here? Guarantee it. It's me. Me. Honest to Pete, I will gain millions of dollars. Millions of dollars will come to me. And I'm sitting here telling you don't do it. Because you see, I didn't sign up for me. And whether you buy that or not, I don't care again. I signed up for you. I did. I drive myself. Babydog drives some days. But really and truly, I don't take a thing. I don't want a thing. You've honored me off the chart. And let me be your governor. And literally, I don't want anything. So with all that, just think about this. And it just keeps getting worse as I go. Big, giant companies. You realize this in Kanawha County. Who gets the most benefit from this anybody? Dow Chemical, Walmart, Target. Those are the people that are gaining the most. Small businesses. We can help them so much in so many other ways. But at the end of the day, if we want population to come to West Virginia, what's the way to do that? I mean, it's getting rid of your personal income tax. It's putting money back in your hands. And every dollar we put back in your hands, where do you think the money's going to go when the money goes to Walmart? You think the money's going to come back to Monroe County? If we give the money to you, you're going to spend the money in Monroe County. You know, it is. So what I think has happened here is this. You've been tricked for a year. You know, Senate leadership primarily went all over Kingdom Come. You know, and they absolutely lined everybody up. And this thing would have passed 90 to 10. And you'd have never known it. And so then I decided, you know, I got to go. I got to go try to tell you. And then if you vote for it, I've done the very best I can possibly do. And if you vote for it, I'll honor the vote and be respectful of the vote. And the only thing I would tell you is just this: in 2 short years, I'll be done. And then I'll run into you in Walmart or somewhere. And when I do, I'll look right at you and I'll point my finger at you and I'll tell you, I told you so. Because you're fixing to absolutely blow your own legs off. And we don't even know it. Now, your voice now has really got to be heard. And it's got to be heard right now. Or you're going to absolutely hurt yourself like you can't imagine. Now, and if that isn't bad enough, let me just pass it one step more. What's going to happen if you can't fund the services of this county? And do you really believe, now, let's be really smart. You're smart people. Do you really believe that there's never going to be a bad day? Do you really believe we're going to have surpluses forever and ever and ever? Or do you really believe that, you know, that we're never going to have to raise the budget? It's going to stay dead flat? Why didn't it happen at your houses or your farms or your businesses? Why didn't it happen in mine? It just doesn't happen that way. There's bad stuff that happens all the time that we don't forecast. And then we've got to take care of it. That's life. That's what we deal with all the time. So, if we can't have a flat budget forever, and even if we could, the likelihood still of something happening along the way, think about this just for a second. Y'all all, you know, we don't have coal here, but for crying out loud, y'all have known what's happened to the coal business forevermore. What if coal prices drop? Well, you know they will. Well, then miners will be laid off, all kinds of services will be starting to happen and everything. Income that's coming to the state is gone. What is going to happen, you know, if all that happens? Then the only thing they can possibly do is turn back to you and say to you, well, can you make it on 80% of what you were getting before? Can you make it on 80% of the policemen or the firemen, or 80% of the services to the seniors or the sports leagues or the schools? Can you make it on 80%? And it may be way worse than that. And if that's not bad enough and you can't, you know what you'll do? You'll have only one recourse. And that'll be the assessments on your property, on your farms, on your houses. The assessments on your property. Now you're probably paying taxes at an assessed value that is only a percentage of the true assessed value. They will have no choice but to raise your property taxes. So at the end of the day, I mean, let's just itemize. It's so simple. First of all, this is a tax break for giant corporations that are making so much money now that they are bathing in money. It's turning their back on the working family, guarantee it. It's taking all the power away from local control. You know what to do with your money. I mean, why in the world would you give all that control to Charleston? They've tricked you on the car tax. I've told you how we can cure that instantaneously. At the end of the day, this is all about taking your rights away from you, your independence. who you really are. This has been in place for 90 years. 90 years. And you're about to give it away. And you don't know because you were tricked. And I didn't know to the magnitude of the toxicity of it because I really thought it was somewhat benign. And so in July, when we offered up the tax break to you, at that point in time, the House passed it right boom, and the Senate just shut it down, and then it got uglier and uglier and uglier. Now you may say, well, our elected officials are saying vote for this. You know, and I don't know if they are or not, but I'm going to tell you this positively. There was a resolution passed in the House and the Senate. It was ramrodded by Republicans on both sides. It did not come to me. It didn't come to me at all. It's just a resolution to put it on the ballot. And then what happens is now, all of a sudden, they're exposed. And then the leadership says, by God, if you get out of step, and the people that are running for office are afraid to go against the leadership, because the leadership controls the dice as far as campaign donations and everything else, and they're afraid to step out against the leadership. And so at the end of the day, they line up like a bunch of sheep. Now, in my opinion, they're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to do that at all. You know, in my opinion, really they're supposed to represent you. So at the end of the day, I don't know how to make it any more blunt. I think that they deceived you, and I think that really and truly you're important, and your voice ought to be heard, and I'm sitting here telling you. Now, I'll answer any question that you choose to ask, and then I'll let you talk to Babydog or me, and ask please, anything. But literally, if you give up control to Charleston on what your right is in this county, we will, and I will guarantee you to God above just this, we will go upside down. You can mark it down. And when we go upside down, the very services that you take for granted for your police and the firemen and the schools and everything else are going to absolutely stand there holding the bag. Ask me anything you choose to ask, please. Come on now. Somebody ask something. Let me then just tell you this. If you don't have anything to ask me, I have to assume then many of you are thinking, you know, he's probably right. And if I'm right, and I know I ain't, I wouldn't come here. There's no humanly way would I ever think of telling you something that I know is not right. No way. There's not enough money printed, and I don't care wherever it may be, for me to do that. Now, listen to me. If I'm right, and I know I am in this, then you're it. You know, we used to be as kids, we'd say, you're it, no takebacks. Now you've become the disciples then, and you got to go tell people. And you got to get them up and vote. Because the only way Charleston will really hear you is that way. I really believe this thing's going down and going down in a big way. But literally, I don't know. He's not with us today. I'm trying, I know Drew Pendleton, the captain, my details here and everything, but one of the officers that's on my details is Joey. And last Saturday, I was going bow hunting. And it was probably 5:30 in the evening, and I was getting my camouflage on. He was standing right there beside me, and he said, Governor, let me tell you this. He said, my buddy just went and early voted. And you know what he told me? He said, I early voted today. And I said to him, well, for God's sakes, Lynn, you didn't vote for those amendments, did you? He said, no way would I vote for those. I voted for the one that got rid of our car tax. Now that's what you're fighting. Y'all are. I mean, that's exactly what you're fighting. So, it's time. It's time for you to be heard. Yes, sir.
Governor, can you clear up on the car tax if it is removed? We've been told that you'll have to pay it and then you'll get a refund on your state income tax, but how will we be able to then get our license for our car to determine if someone's paid the tax? That's how it's done now, to make sure they get their license for a car. Have they figured out how they're going to do that? If they're going to completely end the tax, or you have to pay it and then you get a refund?
You can answer this the best of anybody. But, you know, I don't know if y'all know exactly who this is, but Dave is the Secretary of Revenue. He's been a county commissioner for 16 years in Kanawha County. He's a lawyer. He is a smart guy. He's an accountant. I'm sure he's a CPA. You're a CPA. I mean, this is a smart guy. He's been with me since day one, you know. And to be perfectly honest, I don't ask people these questions. I pick the very most qualified people in my cabinet, period. I always have. You know, I think Dave's a Democrat, you know, but literally, it doesn't matter to me. You know, it never has mattered to me. You know, at the end of the day, no matter if it's, no matter what cabinet member, I pick the best, smartest people, and he is sad.
Yeah, I can answer the question. Because the Constitution requires the property tax, the way we've done this, and this is constitutional, it's been blessed by the attorneys, you will pay your car tax, just like you did last September 1st of this year, 2022. You'll get your receipt in the mail, just like you always would. So you'll have that receipt to get your license plate decal. Then you will go onto the State Tax Department website, log in, fill out about 2 fields, submit your form electronically, or you can do it paper, and then you can choose to get your rebate back electronically or get it back by paper check. 100% dollar for dollar. And we did that so we could comply with the Constitution, yet at the same time not alter the Constitution, so the counties still get their revenue.
So, wait just one second, Devin. In my lingo, which is he's too smart for me, but in my lingo, it's just as simple as the way we've done it is we've taken and allowed you to still make your payment that will go to the county, and we take surplus dollars of revenue and give you the money right back and do it electronically. We can do it in a matter of minutes. This isn't something you're going to wait around forevermore. 87% of you do it electronically now, and for the ones that don't, you know, it may take a week or two to get a check. But it goes back to January of 2022. So as soon as we get this done, you know, then we're going to go back to January 2022 and send you electronically and or a check right back for this past year, you know, and then it's done. And that's the way it'll flow. And it'll cost about $140 million, which in the scope of what we've got going on now is not going to put anything exposed, I mean, in the level of exposure, not at all. You know, and then what, let me just step back and tell you just this. Here's what we should do. You know, I haven't told you that. Here's what we should do in West Virginia. We should get rid of your car tax tomorrow. Okay? That's done. That's done no matter what. And then what we should do is get on a pathway of lowering your personal income tax. And if we do 10% or we do 20%, we do 15%, in the beginning, that's what we ought to do. Give you that money too. So then now you've got car tax money and you've got that money. Literally, you'll go spend it. And because all of us would do that. And then as you spend it, you're going to become our own incentive program. It's going to be happening all around all the time. But then, just breathe. Just hold on just a little bit. My Lord, Olivia, you got to at least give me this. I can run a business. And literally, you know, I know what I'm doing. And literally, if you'll just breathe a little bit, and then you can decide, okay, we can do more on the personal income tax and keep everything in place. Now maybe we can do where we're at 30%. And then breathe And then if we want to do something, which we should do, let's craft something directly for the small businesses, for the farms, for the small businesses. Not this big giant machinery and inventory thing. Do something for the small business. And then breathe. And then if we're still going great, then, and there's growth really coming, and everything's good, then start whittling away on the machinery and inventory tax. That's how it ought to be done. But that's not the way it's done, because see, they're bought off. What they're doing right off the get-go is a machinery and inventory thing, and that puts you in real exposure. Well, what's real exposure? Think about this. The car tax will be gone for sure. The machinery and inventory tax is probably $500 million. And if the utilities and the railroads are eligible, and it looks like they are, then that $500 million turns into maybe $650 or $700 million. So when you put it all together, you're at $800 or $900 million on day one. And literally, then what happens is the surpluses dry up. You're going to have to stay almost as good as we are today, or you'll go upside down. If there's a blip on the screen that comes up like PEI just came out and said, I think in 2027 they're going to need an extra $376 million a year. Or you're going to have your benefits cut, or you're going to have your premiums go up. Dude happens. I'll promise you it does. And you're going to end up as upside down as I know my name. Anyway, Debbie, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, to maybe address the amendment 4, because some of the ads on television are saying, vote no amendment 2, so I'm just going to vote no on 2 and 4. So
Right.
could you address on
Yeah,
amendment 4?
I can, and this is easy for me, okay? Okay, 4 is all about education, okay? And 2 is about the money. Well, the reason I have focused on 2 is just simply this. First of all, I'm a numbers guy. And I also believe wholeheartedly that the number one responsibility that the governor should always have, is to make sure that he keeps the economics right. You see, you can't even have the services if the economics are screwed up. That's what it was 6 years ago, when it cut. The more you cut, more people left. The more people left, kept the hole right with you. It's just a mess. You got to keep the economics right, in my opinion, first and foremost. But that's 2. But number 4, Amendment 4 deals with just this, and it's all the same deal. It's Charleston with this power, more and more power. Charleston wants oversight on everything. They want oversight on impeachment, that's one. That says that if they decide that this one and this one and this one should go, the courts can't even overrule. That's one. Okay. 3 is to do with the churches being able to incorporate. And we're the only state probably in the country that doesn't have the right for churches to incorporate. There's some merit to maybe 3. But nevertheless, really 4 is just simply this. Is the legislature wants oversight into what the educators are doing. We have an education department, we have a superintendent of education, we have the state school board, all those people. Now, sure, they may not be the greatest, and we may surely need to do better in our test scores, and all that. But these people, we're a long ways from being California. And there's a lot of really, really good people in education. If I were to go, let's just be fair again, let me just ask you just this question. And if we were to go to an elementary school where your kids are going to school, and we'd go into the 4th grade class and say, what do you think of your teacher? I bet you all the money in the world that overwhelmingly, most of those kids love their teachers. And they'd probably say, oh, I love Miss Allen, we love Miss Allen to death. And then, of course, you know Miss Allen loves the kids. And then on top of all that, if we said to y'all, okay, tell me about your school. Tell me about your elementary school and your middle school, and tell me about your high school. Tell me about how much that means to your community. And most of you are going to say, oh, we love our school. And sure, we can do a lot better in education. But if you love your school, and your kids love Miss Allen, there's got to be a lot of good going on in the school system too. Now, do our test scores need to get a lot better and all that? Yeah, sure. But there's a lot of good going on right there with our kids. You know, the way our kids grow up, it's really good stuff. Now, we're not California, and we're not New York. And really and truly, what I think the legislature wants in Amendment 4, and that's why the education folks are pushing back on Amendment 4, is because they want oversight. They want to tell the educators what they want to do all the time. The worst of it all is politicians come and go all the time. So that's the pros and the cons both about Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is just a matter of just this. You know, we haven't had issues in our state that I can recall where parents are just told, no, you get out of the way, you don't have anything to do here. We listen to our parents, and we've got a lot of really good educators, and we know that we could be better, but we're not Charleston, or rather, we're not California. So that's why people are pushing 2 and 4. They know 2 will blow your blooming legs off, but they want 4 also because they believe that the educators are doing the best. And so that's your decision. And I'm going to mind the store on the economics. Ask me. I'm here. Yes, sir.
How long do you expect the current surplus to last? Is there a forecast for that, of what we have in the state budget now as a surplus?
Well, please hear me, okay? First of all, if the current surpluses don't continue, or continue very close to where they are, and you give this power to Charleston, and you take away the machinery and inventory tax and everything, and Walmart, you're giving an ungodly break. Let me even tell you just this, and I don't mean to cast stones here. 55 coal companies in this state, I think in this state, took bankruptcy when things got really tough in like 2013, 14 through there, and they wrote off hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Banks got stiffed like you can't imagine. One company in particular wrote off like $1.4 billion. Vendors and banks stiffed like crazy. We wouldn't do it, and it was awful. And it's still awful, because it's taken and just, we've had to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig to just keep our head above water. And I'm talking about our businesses. But I didn't believe in that, and I wouldn't do it. Now, the particular company I'm talking about wrote off $1.4 billion. Today, you can look it up. They're making over $100 million a month. And that's who you're giving the tax break to. $100 million a month. And they wrote off $1.4 billion. And that's who you're rewarding. And those people are walking right down the street right out there that are worried about what in the world they're going to do about buying groceries. You're just saying, no, we're not going to do anything for you. How long is surplus is going to last? Well, probably less time than what any of us hope. Could they be changed right this second? Of course they could. You know, I really believe metallurgical coal, which goes to make steel, will last for a good little while. We mine 30% of our coal is metallurgical, and 70% of our coal in West Virginia is thermal to make electricity. You know, from the standpoint of gas prices, the very second the situation is resolved in Ukraine, if it's ever resolved, gas prices go straight down. When that happens, the surpluses go shoot like crazy. You know, listen, there's so many things that can happen. Let me tell you something. Let me be so bizarre, it's unbelievable. What happens if we go out here and get in our vehicles, turn the radio on, and Putin has put off a nuclear weapon in Ukraine? The stock market will go to 9,000, just like that. Your 401ks will just go poof, all to pieces. From the state's rainy day fund, it'll be upside down tomorrow. The bonds will be derated if we don't put money in it. If we don't have the money to put the money in it, the bonds will be derated and we'll be just real in every way. That's how fast bad stuff could happen. Now, do I believe that's going to happen? No way. But I'm telling you, if you believe that these surpluses are just going to be there forevermore, then Babydog has got oceanfront property in Kansas, and she's got it for sale right now.
Governor,
Yes, sir.
this is the second or third time I've heard you speak on this, and this is the message I'm getting on this amendment too, is all our money goes to Charleston. We may take a 20% cut very easily from them, but there's no promise a county like Berkeley wouldn't get a 20% increase in theirs. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're Southern West Virginia, and I know as good as you do, and this is my opinion, this is brought up by Northern West Virginian politicians. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
So I think we need to listen to our governor who is vouching for Southern West Virginia on this. Everything that I've looked at has said this amendment should have passed.
Governor, Mayor Sparks and I don't know if the union is calculated or not, it'll take $150,000 out of our budget in Orson. And our budget's only $550 anyway.
Right, it would be more than 15% of our budget if the money we don't get back. And if we have to go beg for it, that means that, I'm Caroline Sparks, Mayor of County Union, and the Mayor of Peterstown. What that means for us is somebody in Hancock County, Kanawha County, is going to determine what the town of Union gets. That's taxation without representation. That's wrong. And, you know, Union, we don't ask for much, because we are pretty self-sufficient as well as Peterstown. We're pretty self-sufficient. So that's not, we would be way down on the bottom list to get anything. And yes, so the town of Union would not benefit. It would be detrimental to the town of Union if this passed.
There's no question. I mean, it's the same wherever I go. You know, absolutely. You know, here's what's going to happen. I mean, you have only so many delegates. You know, absolutely senators. You know, big wide area. They have more clout, more everything than you. In all honesty, I hate to say it because this sounds terrible. They don't know you even exist. You're just here. But literally, at the end of the day, if you have to suffer through some level of cuts, well, whose hiding is it going to come out of? It's going to come out of your seniors or your services or whomever. You know, absolutely. And when it really boils down to it, you know, if you've got to do with 5 less policemen or whatever it may be, you really think they're going to care about that? They're not going to care about that. They're just not. Now the problem is the police officer's buddy that just went and said, no way I voted for those amendments, but I did vote for the one that got rid of my car tax. That's your problem right there. That's why I'm sitting here. You have got to be heard. You have got to do every single thing in your power to be heard. Now, it may very well be, and I bet you it's true, I bet you somebody that's sitting here went and voted for this because they thought they were getting rid of their car tax. Now, I'm surely not going to ask you who it was, but literally, if you happen to be that person, then you need to go find 3 or 4 more people and tell them how they should vote about this and get them to go cancel you out 3 or 4 times. Because, literally, at the end of the day, you're now on a super short fuse. And if it blows, it blows. From my standpoint, what am I going to do if it blows? Well, one thing, you dance all the way to the bank. Because you'll be basically infusing in my bank millions of dollars. Crazy. Crazy to do. And then, right behind all of that, you know, absolutely, I'll come, we'll do the courthouse stuff, we'll do this and that, and then I'll be gone. And then when everything blows, I'll be the guy in Walmart that'll be telling you I told you so. I may even be a greeter. Babydog and I can pull them in from everywhere.
So if I understand right, the refund on the car tax would be like the low-income refund on personal property tax is now. Like the home, people that get homestead or low-income exemption. They would get to file that with their taxes and get the money back.
You can file it even without filing it with your taxes. You'll be able to go on, as soon as you pay it and have a receipt, you'll be able to go on the tax department's website and file for a refund immediately. You don't even have to go to your income taxes.
And this is for people that don't even pay income taxes too. If you pay a car tax,
You pay for it. So,
you get the money back. Period. Dollar for dollar, penny for penny, you get the money back instantly. This isn't going to be something that's still dragging around. That's the only thing they could come up with. You see, when we came up with this, they say, "Oh no, but it'll take a long time." Cool feathers. You know, I mean, how lame an excuse could that possibly be? These people are halfway good at what they do, and that can come back just like that.
Governor, in the county with the revenue the way it is right now, we're at $3.6 million in revenue. At potentially we can lose $1.6 million in revenue, of which that is about 44% of our total revenue in the county. As of right now in the county, we're fighting to keep deputies in the county, to keep law enforcement going. We have one in the morning and one in the evening. That's the critical mass that we're at right now in the county. And I know if we have to go down and beg for money, I don't want to do that. And of that $1.6 million that we're going to be losing, approximately $1.2 million of it goes to our school system. So, you know, I don't think people really understand everything you said about the revenue from our side. There's only one thing you can do, and you're going to have to raise property taxes or something, because you still have to have the services. So I can't right now. I hope and pray it doesn't pass, and I'll benefit from it also. Not like you, but I'll benefit from it. But I don't care. I'm not here to.
No, you're not. I know you're not. We're not here for you, are you?
No.
I mean, it's not. You know, so many, but we got to really be heard. I mean, my heavens, Betsy. I mean, this is my last of my last. It's so wrong that I can't tell you how wrong it is. The worst of it all is, you know, you've got hard-working folks. Let's just say, you know, Toby and Edith, that I always say. And Toby and Edith are just wonderful, wonderful people. They're in their 80s. They worked their whole life. They've never missed a car payment. They've never missed any kind of land payment. They've always paid every bill. They've done everything in the world. And you're going to look right at them and basically trick them. To me, that's the whole deal here almost. We have deceived Toby and Edith, you. We have. You know, we've tricked you into absolutely believing and voting for this, and you had no clue how bad and how toxic it really is. Now, my last is this. If you're not mad now, you will be. And you absolutely better remember this image. Now, it's not much of an image, but a bulldog asleep, and a guy that's sitting on this chair, stool, that is really strong, because it's got a load on it right now. And I want you to never, ever forget this. I'm telling you, to God above, if you're not mad now, you will be. Because when this thing flies all to pieces, and you didn't do something about it now, absolutely when you can, and it is your right, you're going to really be mad. And that's when I'm going to be the guy that's going to be on aisle 6, saying, probably where the donuts are, and absolutely saying, I told you so. You're good people, and this is the ending. Just think how good you really are. You live in paradise. You really do. 4 of the most incredible seasons. There's no county in the state any more beautiful than Monroe County. No way. You live in paradise. You're within a rock's throw of 2/3 of the population of the whole country that could absolutely bring growth and opportunity and diversification and tourism and everything in the world right here to you. How are you going to bring them here? Well, the ticket to do that's getting rid of your personal income tax. That's your ticket. Look all around you. Look everywhere. I mean, right, we just got a publication from the Tax Foundation that said the states, how they're ranked as far as business climate. We were ranked 20th. That's not too bad. You know, all the states around us, the states that they love to flaunt, just say, we want to be like Ohio. Well, they're 37th. Pennsylvania's 33rd. We don't want to be like them. Now, if we want to be like somebody, just think about this. Who's number 1? Wyoming. Who's number 2? South Dakota. Who's number 3? Alaska. Who's number 4? Florida. I think number 5 may be Montana or something. Who number 7 is Nevada. What do they all have? They don't have an income tax. It is absolutely so wrong what's going on. It's off the chart. But you're 40 people. How many people are going to vote? And there's going to be a lot of them. You're 40 voices that can really be heard. Now listen. Now I got to say this. I started to say this a second ago. But you really are so good. You're faith-based. And you're absolute craftsmen. And you know the difference between right and wrong. You're loving neighbors. You're appreciative people. You're absolutely the salt of the blooming earth, and you live in paradise. You're so good it is off the chart. And don't forget that. Never forget that. You should be so, so proud of who you are. Absolutely. So in every way, let's together, let's be heard. Let's absolutely run through the streets and be heard. And then let's get on with doing good stuff for all of us. I'll end by just telling you I love you. My dad would say this. My dad was an Air Force pilot in World War II. He would say, as I would say right now, it's been a real honor flying with you. And I'll never forget it. Don't screw this up. I mean, don't mess this up. That's all I got, unless you got something else. All right, y'all want to come see Babydog? Thank you. God bless each and every one of you.